In this video, Dr. Jordan Peterson explains why you're not your thoughts and the benefits of realizing this.
Rogers was opposed to diagnosis because he felt that it didn't sufficiently represent the vital minutiae of the client's individual experience. And I think that his claim was extremely important, because medicine, psychiatry, tends to classify everything. And you might say, well, are the psychiatric diagnostic classifications real? And then the answer to that is, it depends on what you mean by real. And you might think, well, that's an annoying answer. But it is still the answer. And so I could say, if I was being cynical, although I don't really think it's a cynical response, if I was willing to sound cynical, that the only reason that psychiatrists diagnose their clients is so that insurance companies can pay the bills. And I actually believe that that's more true than the claim that the psychiatric diagnostic categories actually capture the essence of the person's problems. In my clinical experience, classification has had almost zero utility. And the reason for that is because it's too low resolution. It doesn't capture the individual properly. Because the thing about a client, a clinical client, is that it's precisely their individuality that's the fundamental issue. It's like they have to make their way through the world in their body, in their time, in their position in culture, with their advantages and disadvantages. And that requires a solution that's unique in many ways, and one that's also personal. And Rogers also wasn't a particularly great fan of the psychoanalysts' tendency to look for the causes of present behavior in past events. So he didn't regard fishing in the past as a necessarily useful expedition, or as a necessary expedition, although if issues of the past came up in therapy, he was perfectly willing to deal with them. He didn't accept the Freudian theory that the fundamental cause of psychopathology was, say, traumatic past experience. I'll listen to people talk, and then sometimes something will occur to me. And I don't think about it as I thought something, because I'm actually somewhat a follower of Nietzsche's dictum, which is that the fact that you think is no proof that the fact that you experience thoughts is no proof that you thought them. They just appear. Well, you don't think that you think up your dreams, right? You have your dreams. There you are in bed. There are the dreams. Are you having them? Well, it doesn't seem like it. It seems like you're experiencing this, in some sense, the same way you experience the external world. You're not voluntarily creating them. Well, why do you think anything different about your thoughts? And that's a very useful thing to realize, by the way, because otherwise you think you're your thoughts, and then if you have negative thoughts, well, then you assume that they're true. And they're not true just because you think them. They're just thoughts, and maybe they're true, and maybe they're useful, and maybe they're not. So stepping back from them a little bit is it's like Buddhist detachment in a sense. It's an incredibly useful thing to do. I mean, that's another thing that's really characteristic of modern people, because especially if they're smart, they think, first of all, and second, they think that the things they think are true, and neither of those things are necessarily true, and abandoning your belief in them makes you much less rigid and much more able to expand your preconceptions or even radically change them when the circumstances demand them.